Right now at noon, a water rescue on Lake Monona caught on camera. The latest on this woman's condition. Plus, new legal questions emerge after President Trump's executive actions on day one. How he's looking to make an impact on the nation with the stroke of a pen. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Spreiter. We begin with the frigid conditions outside. Wind chills are well into the negatives, making temperatures feel even colder. In some areas of Wisconsin, could see some snow tomorrow. For more on these conditions, let's get a check of the first warn forecast with meteorologist Jacob Montesano. And these are the current temperatures that are not too pretty to look at.
Yeah, no, we're barely going to get above zero if we even do get above zero here in southern Wisconsin today. -5 still in Madison at the noon hour. Below zero for all of Dane County. Looking across the area, everyone is below zero at this time. It may rise a few degrees throughout the afternoon, but for the most part, these temperatures are going to be pretty consistent. Now, the winds aren't too bad, but there are a few locations seeing some breezy conditions. 22 miles per hour in Monroe, around 10 to 15 miles per hour in southwestern Wisconsin. So as we take a look at the wind chills at the noon hour, -30 in Monroe, -20s further west, -teens across much of Dane County. So we are still seeing some dangerously cold air, and alert day conditions are expected to continue through the overnight hours. Now, it is important to point out that tomorrow morning will be a lot better, but we're still going to see very cold wind chills. Let's take a look at the wind chill forecast for the rest of today. Not really going to change all that much, but overnight they're actually going to get better throughout the night as the temperatures rise a little bit, but we're still going to see below zero wind chills for Wednesday morning, and then by Wednesday afternoon the alert day conditions will be over, but we still could see some cold weather for the end of the week. Now, looking at the evening forecast, right around zero, we are going to see clouds increase throughout the evening into the overnight hours, and then some snows in the forecast later tonight into tomorrow morning. And these are the low temperatures we're expecting around sunrise. Notice how they're going to be warmer than what we're going to see during the evening. I'll talk more in detail about the temperatures and the snowfall coming up a little bit later.
Boy, that 7 degrees is going to feel mighty good tomorrow. Thank you, Jacob. Well, 140 school districts across the area are closed today due to the brutally cold temperatures. This is a running list on channel3000.com. You can check out for yourself. The city of Madison says it will delay trash and recycling pickup for some people because of the extreme cold. If today is trash and recycling pickup day for you, put out your bins, and if they don't get collected, in that case, the city will get them tomorrow. Remember, if your Mondays are typically when you get the trash picked up, this also applies to you due to pickup being delayed for the MLK holiday yesterday. Meanwhile, warming centers in Middleton are open this week, offering a place for people to escape the cold. This is a list of some of those places. The police department lobby is the only place that is open 24 hours a day. City Hall, the library, and the fire department will open up today. Those 3 locations were closed yesterday for the MLK holiday. This information is also on our website, channel3000.com. You can stay up to date with our First Warn weather. Just download the app. It has hourly forecasts, road conditions, and the latest school closings. Download it for free in your app store. Just search WISC weather. Right now, a woman is recovering after falling through the ice on Lake Monona this morning. The incident and rescue all caught on camera. Take a look at this. The viewer video shows the woman standing at the end of the ice on the lake. As she starts walking away, she then falls through the ice. The Madison Fire Department's lake rescue team was sent to Spate Street around 7:40 this morning. First responders got the woman out with a paddleboard, pulling her to shore. The woman was taken to a hospital. She is not hurt, but there are concerns about her exposure in this extreme cold. A Milwaukee man is dead after a possible case of hypothermia. Home surveillance video shows the man walking outside at 2 in the morning on Sunday. On a different angle, he is seen lying on the ground, struggling to move. Investigators say no one called for help for the man until almost 7 in the morning. The medical examiner's office says the cause of death is a probable hypothermia. Wind chills at that point were between -5 and -15 degrees. Happening tonight, the DeForest Village Board will debate a proposal to remove fluoride from drinking water. The Public Services Committee voted 5-2 last month in favor of removing it. Some board members argue that keeping fluoride in the water is not safe. They cite a Washington Post opinion piece and a ruling by a California judge against the FDA. CDC says the mineral has been shown to reduce tooth decay. Fluoride has been in drinking water across the U.S. for over 75 years. That meeting is tonight at 6. Voters in Whitewater will decide whether or not to support an increase in the city's annual tax levy in April. The city is asking for a $1.3 million increase in taxes. That money would be used to add 5 new police officers, dispatchers, 2 firefighters, EMTs, and equipment. If passed, the average homeowner would see an increase of an annual property tax of about $100. Well, it is President Trump's first full day of his second term in office. He's already signed a record number of executive actions, including pardoning or commuting nearly all of the January 6 defendants. Jared Hill reports from Capitol Hill.
President Donald Trump attended a prayer service at the National Cathedral Tuesday, one day after claiming divine intervention is why he survived an assassination attempt last summer.
I was saved by God to make America great again.
Shortly after taking the oath of office, the 47th president signed a record number of executive actions.
This is January 6th.
He also issued broad pardons and commutations for defendants who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, even those convicted of attacking law enforcement. When asked why, Trump made baseless claims the FBI played a role in instigating the attack.
There were outside agitators involved, and obviously the FBI was involved.
Michael Fanone is a former D.C. police officer who was attacked at the Capitol.
I can assure you that these individuals will go on to commit acts of violence, maybe even commit acts of violence against me or members of my family.
Trump issued a host of executive actions on his first day in office, including pulling the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords and making an effort to end birthright citizenship, even though it's a constitutional right. He also halted a law requiring TikTok to break from its Chinese-based parent company.
The U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok.
And he designated drug cartels as terrorist organizations.
I, Marco Rubio,
do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear.
Tuesday morning, Vice President J.D. Vance swore in former Florida Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, the first Trump cabinet pick to start his new job. Jared Hill, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In a post to social media overnight, Trump says he is firing more than 1,000 political appointees from across the government. It's not unusual for appointees to be let go when a new administration comes in, but normally they would wait until new officials are ready to take over. Well, workers in Texas are installing dozens of floating barriers on the Rio Grande to stop illegal immigration. Texas Governor Greg Abbott wrote about his intentions on social media. The governor tried this before in 2023, but the Biden administration challenged the move, claiming the floating barriers were unlawful. A federal judge in 2023 ordered the state to remove the floating barriers and barred the state from building new ones in the river. But Texas appealed the ruling. A federal appeals court sided with the state last July. 2 Americans are coming home after being held as prisoners in Afghanistan. Ryan Corbett's family says he had been a prisoner for 894 days. He was living in Afghanistan with his wife and 3 children doing non-governmental organization work before the collapse of the Afghan government. The family was evacuated when the Taliban took over in August of 2021, but Corbett's family said, or wife said, he returned for a work trip in 2022 and was detained. According to the Biden White House, he was never charged with the crime. Little is known about the other American freed, William McKenty. The Biden White House declined to offer any details. Meanwhile, Taliban member Khan Mohammed was flown from the U.S. to Doha. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison in 2008 after being convicted on drug and narco-terrorism charges. Still ahead for us on this Tuesday afternoon, the World Economic Forum kicks off in Switzerland. Plus, the TikTok ban is lifted for now. How much more time President Trump is giving the popular social media app.
You're watching News 3 Now at noon. Moving forward.
Among the flurry of executive orders President Donald Trump signed on his first day back in office was one directing the Justice Department not to enforce a TikTok ban for 2.5 months. The social media app temporarily shut down over the weekend, citing a law that would ban the app on January 19th unless it cut ties with Chinese parent company ByteDance. The law was recently upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. The order also says Trump's administration will review sensitive intelligence around national security concerns related to TikTok. More than 18,000 Costco workers could walk off the job next month, according to the Teamsters. The union says 85% of its members voted in favor of a strike if there was no agreement on a new contract by January 31st. Workers are demanding better wages and benefits. Costco operates more than 600 warehouses across the U.S. and Puerto Rico. So far, the company has not responded to requests for comment. And the World Economic Forum kicked off in Davos, Switzerland yesterday. The gathering of world business and political leaders is expected to discuss several major topics, including trade, climate change, and artificial intelligence. President Trump is set to address the forum virtually later this week. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Chanel Call.
Here's a look at the stock report on this Tuesday afternoon. The Dow is currently sitting 426 points up. The Nasdaq also up 114, and the S&P 500 up 46. Right now, our call for action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. You can call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. We'll take a look at today's egg numbers straight ahead, plus Jacob returns with the first warn forecast, then later on Live at 4. The FDA is banning red dye number 3. Dr. Jeff Potoff with the reasons why and what other food additives could be next. Pam is out of the radio barn this afternoon, so here are your farm numbers. Right now, Southern California is bracing for the return of high winds. The conditions threaten to worsen the fires, but with a slight reprieve, people living in the affected areas are also taking stock of what's left. Officials allowed people to visit their homes, but they could not move back in. In addition, people have to rely on police escorts to get home. They also have to show proof that they live in the affected area. What many evacuees are seeing, what's left of their homes after the fire, is leaving them emotional.
I'm choking up every time I start talking about them because they've come here and they risk their lives. That's their job, and it's just amazing what they've done.
Well, just seeing my friends talk about how they lost their homes, it's just been not the greatest thing to see, and it just kind of breaks my heart.
The Palisades fire broke out 2 weeks ago, forcing over 100,000 people to evacuate. Meanwhile, take a look at this. This is a live shot of Bourbon Street in New Orleans, where they are dealing with a rare snowstorm. The storm could potentially produce record-breaking snowfall in parts of Louisiana and other southern states. Kind of looks like what it should be on State Street, but we're just dealing with the bitterly cold temperatures here in Wisconsin. Meteorologist Jacob Montesano has your first warn forecast, and I kind of have to wipe my eyes looking at this Doppler track. This is unreal.
I don't know if there's ever been a moment in history where there's more snow in New Orleans than Madison, Wisconsin, but we may be in that point. Now, it hasn't snowed in New Orleans since 2009, and it hasn't produced more than 2 inches since 1963. So this is a very unprecedented storm for New Orleans, and you can see some pretty dark blues right now impacting the city. Now, coming back to our area, looking at the 3 things you need to know, it's going to remain very cold through the morning tomorrow with some snow Wednesday, but we're actually not going to get that much snow as New Orleans is seeing probably only about a ½ inch. We are going to see mild temperatures then over the weekend and next week, but alert day conditions are our big focus. focus, we continue to see wind chills in the negative teens to as cold as negative 30 at times. And the alert day will end kind of later in the morning on Wednesday, as we're still going to see some low wind chills. Now, the winds are really going to dictate the temperatures. Notice as we get into the evening, going to be breezy, but the winds are going to be out of the south. Now, it'll be around 20 to 25 miles per hour, and the temperatures will still be very cold, so the wind chills will still be low. But this southerly wind will cause temperatures to actually warm up throughout the night. Not warm up too much, but actually bring the actual temperatures above zero. But we're still going to be very breezy Wednesday morning, so the wind chills will still be very low. And then as we get towards Thursday, the winds are then going to shift back out of the northwest, bring in some more cold air, although not as cold as what we're seeing right now. And so we're going to continue to see a few mornings with below zero wind chills for Thursday and Friday as well. Now let's take a look at that wind chill forecast. Going to remain in the negative teens and negative 20s throughout the afternoon and evening today. But as those temperatures warm up throughout the night, the wind chills will get a little better, but it's still going to be very cold Wednesday morning, as we'll see those wind chills possibly still in the negative teens. But then by Wednesday afternoon, they're going to be in the positive teens, and it's going to feel a lot better considering how cold we have been. But then we're going to see more below zero wind chills for Thursday morning. Now, we don't have alert day in the forecast for this, just because it is going to still be a lot better compared to the last couple of days, but it is still going to be very cold for the morning on Thursday. And then we can't seem to catch a break for the cold, because Friday morning is also going to see wind chills very similar in the negative single digits to possibly negative teens. So although it's going to still be better, it's going to still be cold. Now, as we take a look at the snowfall forecast, clouds will increase a lot during the evening, and then we could see some snow showers move into our area later in the night, but especially Wednesday morning. Snow does look pretty likely for much of our area, but it is expected to be pretty light. Could see some isolated areas up to an inch, and we definitely could see some slippery roads. Considering the ground's so cold, it's not going to take a lot of snow to accumulate, but for the most part, it's just going to be very similar to the last couple of snows we've seen, where it does create some slippery road conditions, but as a whole, it's very minimal, and we may see more snow showers during the evening on Wednesday, but by Thursday morning, all that snow will have cleared out of the area. And as we look at the snow chances after tonight through Wednesday, we're almost certainly going to be dry, maybe some very light snow over the weekend, but beyond that, still not expecting much in the form of snow. Now, the good news is that by the time we get to the weekend, temperatures will be a lot better. Again, still kind of cold for tomorrow through Friday, but not as cold as the last couple of days. But then 30s are in the forecast for Saturday, and there are more 30s in the forecast for next week. But notice we continue to see very little in the form of snow, but I'm sure a lot of people will just take the warm temperatures. I know that's how I feel. It's been too cold out there. Wednesday through Friday wouldn't be too bad, but you know, I'm just looking towards those 30s a little bit later.
That's going to be a dream. It's going to feel good.
Yeah, it's going to feel like spring based on what we've seen.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, the deadline is approaching to submit name ideas for the city of Madison's snow plows. Residents have until 4 on Friday afternoon to submit suggestions. The city says they've received more than 750 name ideas so far. That includes suggestions like the Big Leplowski, Control Salt Delete, and Plowy McPlowface. The naming election will be held in February by Wisconsin Saltwise. Now let's see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Kelly loves the dish we're making today so much, she told me if she ever had to choose a last meal, this would be it. Join us to see what it is. Recently, we came up with a twist on a fancy restaurant favorite that's super simple, it's packed with flavor, and is one of Kelly's favorites. With all that it has going for it, I can't wait to show it to you. Since most chicken breasts in the market are pretty thick, for the dish we're making today, we want to either pound them until they're about a ½ inch thick or cut them in half horizontally. To make sure every bite is juicy and flavorful, we poke them all over with a fork before soaking them in a homemade lemon rosemary olive oil marinade. When they're done marinating, we dredge them in flour and saute them until they're golden and cooked through. Then we'll take them out of the pan, add a bit more oil, and saute some onions. Once these are tender, we add a bit of lemon juice, some white wine, and a little Dijon mustard. And when you serve these tender as can be chicken breasts topped with the sauce, you'll know exactly why this is one of Kelly's all-time favorites. So don't wait another minute. Hop on our website and look for what we call crazy good rosemary chicken. We promise you won't be disappointed. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found Kelly's and soon to be your favorite way to say, ooh, it's so good.
Here's Jacob with a final check of your forecast.
Thanks, Josh. We're still going to see cold temperatures throughout the rest of today. Wind chills will still remain well below zero. And then by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon, they're finally going to rise above that zero level. But then for Thursday morning and Friday morning, they're going to drop back down to below zero levels, although not quite as cold as what we saw this morning and what we're seeing right now. And then over the weekend, it's going to be a lot better. 30s are in the forecast, but we still continue to see very little snow, just some snow chance later tonight into early Wednesday.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you back here for